behalf of the Shrewsbury Township Board of Supervisors, as Chairman, I'd like to call the regular meeting to order. We begin by pledging to the flag. We pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have a few announcements to make up front. I'd like to begin by introducing Nick and Jack, seniors at Shrewsbury High School, who are going to be recording this meeting and future meetings as well. And the results of their efforts can be viewed through the Township's website. Public has the right to record meetings, and you must announce your intentions at the beginning of the meetings.
I'd like to announce my intention to record.
And your
Earl Shookman.
Blue shirt and the camera, I thought he was one of the high school guys.
Yeah, he looks like
he looks awfully young. Anyway, as far as we have a public comment period towards the beginning of the meeting and at the end of the meeting, I would ask you to address the board through the microphone, which is up front here, and give us your full name, and also we'd appreciate it if you give your street address to our recording secretary, so we have that, we have to get in touch with you. Next item of business is the approval of the minutes from our October 3rd meeting. We have three series of minutes from our October meeting. The board met 3 times in October. I'll entertain a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes held on October 3rd.
So moved.
I'll second that motion. Any discussion? Any changes? Comments? I'll call for the vote.
Aye.
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 The next approval of minutes relates to the budget meeting held October 29th. The meeting was advertised, and you all have a copy of those minutes. I'll entertain a motion to approve them.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? I'll call for the vote.
Aye.
recusing, I wasn't present.
Aye.
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 The third batch of minutes involves the zoning ordinance review meeting held on October 30th of last month, and that also was advertised as a public meeting. I'll entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved.
I'll second it. Any discussion? Call for the vote.
Aye.
Aye. I don't think they're very detailed.
Aye.
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 Moving along. Item number 4, the treasurer's report for October. You have a copy of that in your packet. I might add, the board gets a packet a week or so prior to this meeting, which relates to the items on the agenda, so we have time to review these items before our meeting. So I'll call for a motion to approve the treasurer's report.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Any discussion? I'll call for the vote.
Aye.
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 Next item. Third quarter 2014 budget versus actual report. That's just for information.
Correct.
Thank you. Now, we're at item 5. This is our opening public comment period. We're limited up to 5 minutes. Anybody care to address the board or those who are present? Entertain you at this time. Seeing no hands up, we'll move on. Ordinances and resolutions. resolution number 2014-19, Maintenance Department Safety Manual. Todd, you want to give us the background of that? You all have a copy in your packet.
Yeah, I gave everyone a copy of last month's agenda packet. This is a result of our workers' comp insurance carrier came down and did an audit of the township safety policies and procedures. We do not have a safety manual in place, so they highly recommended that we do that. They provided us with a draft. We reviewed it here in staff, and we also had the maintenance department. All 6 of the employees reviewed it as well and offer any feedback. And that final version is what was presented to you last month. So if you find that acceptable, again, I didn't have any feedback last month. If that hasn't changed, we just need to adopt it by resolution.
Any members of the board have any comments on that manual? I have a relatively minor comment, and I see where you do address chainsaw safety, which is very important, because our maintenance people do use the chainsaws quite a bit. And you basically refer to the manuals, which do cover a lot of the safety provisions. I just want to make sure that all of our employees will take a look at the manuals, because the manual itself, which we are going to be adopting, doesn't go into the same detail as the manuals.
And I'll make sure I pass that along to my
Okay. All right, I'll now entertain a motion to approve the Maintenance Department Safety Manual. Have a motion? Is there a
I'll
second?
second.
Motion and a second, any discussion? Call for the vote.
Aye.
Moving on to subdivision and land development. Pardon me?
You didn't vote, Paul.
Okay, I'm not moving too fast. Aye, so excuse me.
Aye.
All right, now we're moving on to subdivision and land development. First item under that heading is the Chris Auto Body, which is located on Commerce Drive in Glenrock, which is right off the trail out here, I believe. Todd, you want to bring us up to date on what the status of that plan is?
Yeah, this was a land development plan that came before the board actually 1 year ago. The board approved that on the condition of several outstanding comments from CS Davidson, as well as their permitting and so forth. The one item that remains outstanding is their NPDES permit from DEP that has to do with pollution control, discharge control. They are working with DEP. They actually have a meeting tomorrow. And my understanding is it's taking some of these projects up to a year and a half to get those permits. So at this point in time, it's not Kurt's Auto that's dragging their feet. My understanding is it's just the bureaucracy through DEP to get these permits reviewed. So with that said, their last 3-month extension expires actually tomorrow. So I know that we need the board to reapprove that plan, so we have another 3 months to record it deeds office.
I'll make a motion that we approve the approval of the preliminary and the final land development plan
Thank you.
for the extension of the 3 months.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Discussion. This firm, Chris Auto Body, they bought an existing auto body operation.
Correct.
And are they operating it now?
They are operating it now. They would like to do an expansion, which they have not done yet.
All right, so they can operate the old facility, but they can't do an expansion until they get final approval.
That's correct.
Thank you. I'll call for the vote.
Aye.
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 The next final item on the subdivision and land development is the Fox and Boers final subdivision plan located at 3624 Bowser Road in Freedom. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the Susan Fox and Jeff Van Voorhis subdivision plan on the condition that the comments in C.S. Davidson's review letter dated August 29th, 2014 are addressed. The parcel history table is revised to show 2 existing dwellings on Lot 1 with no remaining development rights, and the plan is to be changed to show the existing tenant dwelling.
Is there a second?
That plan is not acceptable to us.
I'll make a second.
Discussion.
That plan is not acceptable to us. We submitted our plan, and we are submitting our plan as submitted October 24th.
Which is what the board has in your packet.
This plan meets all the requirements of our zoning and subdivision ordinance and all related ordinances. That's a question. Yes, but I should direct it to yes, by all means.
We had this discussion last month. Staff, as I had mentioned, staff believes that the plan needs to reflect the existing tenant dwelling along with the parcel.
It's not a tenant dwelling.
Does not fit.
Excuse me.
So other than that change to the plan, as well as the outstanding comments of C.S. Davidson's letter, everything else seems to be in order.
Thank you. The staff is indicating that, let me finish. The existing, the dwelling in question or the building or structure in question requires a development, right?
Yeah, if you'll just bear with me here a second.
May I also interject that the planning commission, if you listen to their meeting, they voted for this plan to go through without the development right being encumbered in any way. And if you feel that we are in violation of any zoning ordinance, I have asked on numerous occasions for this township to follow the MPC and our zoning ordinance and cite us the article, section, and line where you feel that we are in violation of your ordinance. If not, then you need to pass our subdivision plan. You can name the building the summer kitchen because that's what it is. That's what it's always been. And when it was remodeled in 1991, that's what it is. It's under the 1976 zoning ordinance and the rules and regulations that pertain to that. You need to cite us where we are in violation of anything. If not, then you have no right, I don't think, to not approve the plan.
If I can address that. Regarding planning commission, if you recall, when the discussion came up regarding the development rights, I believe planning commission, there was a consensus that they understood that they were not going to resolve this issue at the planning commission level, so they did not directly address this issue.
Numerous
They
members
passed the plan
did.
along. The other thing is regarding the request, as far as being in violation, the email that you sent requested that we review it under the 1976 ordinance.
Correct.
Your plan is being reviewed under the 2003 ordinance. So
No, you said
1976
208.
version,
First you told me 2008, now you tell me 2003. This is a pre-existing, non-conforming structure.
no, your plan is reviewed under 2003, which had a couple of amendments since that time.
That's all.
2008 had to do with the date that you filed your plan. If I can, I do want to just share with the board and the public so they understand the staff's position. I know that came up last month about as far as when you filed your application. This is a copy of the application. It was filed in June of 2008. Under the ordinance in which the Fox Van Voorhees plan is being reviewed, if you look at permitted accessory uses, it states a tenant dwelling. It states one dwelling, utilizes one dwelling right, and it was from an August 1st, 2007 amendment.
And you also, please scroll back up. Please scroll back up. The existing summer kitchen is also a building and uses customarily incidental to a permitted principal use. Summer kitchens were very customary and still are in this township and many other townships, and they were generally used on farms to house people of all kinds, whatever you want to do with them, but a lot of barn help lived in them, farm help, whatever. I mean, and that is where you can say it's permitted. But we are not under that ordinance because Shrewsbury Township lawfully permitted that summer kitchen to be remodeled the same way it is today in 1991, under the conditions of the 1976 ordinance and any amendments up to December of 1991. So if you want to go back through that ordinance like I have and tell me what that summer kitchen can be used for, who can reside in it, who can't, what it can be used for, and what, that's fine. Show me where it says what that building
I will
is.
do that. And I understand you called it a summer kitchen, and I understand it was a summer kitchen.
That is one.
And you can give it any title you wish to give it. It boils down to what is the use.
And it's
So
not
if
being
I-
used at all right now, currently.
So if I can continue, as I mentioned before, a tenant dwelling requires the use of one development right. If you go down and read the definition of a tenant dwelling, it simply says a second single-family dwelling located on the same farm parcel, but is not attached to a principal single-family dwelling. It doesn't talk about the size of the dwelling. It doesn't talk about whether it has separate or shared utilities. You have stated at numerous meetings that it's been rented as a dwelling unit.
Yeah.
Just because, well, we have at least 3 registration forms on file, that's another thing the staff
Well,
looked at.
the law, our ordinance reads that if anybody resides in your home, you must send in a tenant registration form. And although numerous people do not do that, I have done that. Okay, so you don't know who rented and who didn't rent. You don't know who they were and what they were. So you can keep going.
The only other thing I want to address, Sue brings up about the questions. But before I go to that, I want to address, I'm not aware that staff or anyone else in the township has stated that you're in violation of using that building as a dwelling unit. You're allowed to do that. You just need to use the development right in order to do that.
It is not a dwelling unit. What is the definition of a dwelling unit?
I
Tell me the
just read the
definition.
tenant dwelling.
What is the definition of a dwelling unit? You tell me.
I'm reading to you what the ordinance states. in
No,
tenant
tell me
dwelling
what
units.
the definition of a dwelling
It's a
unit
second
is.
single-family dwelling. But if I can
With
just
facilities,
address,
with complete facilities for people to reside or exist in that dwelling. That means a complete kitchen and a complete bathroom. Okay? That's what that means. You check it out.
continuing on here, Sue had spoke about the Quaitches back in 1990. The township did issue a permit for them to renovate what they called the summer kitchen. And at the time that they applied for their application, they indicated it was an extension of their home
Which it is.
and it would not be rented or leased. And I just state here, it says, I would like to state that this building will be used only for our family personal use and will not rent or lease it as a dwelling or offered as such. And that was signed by Mr. Quaitch in 1990.
Right. So 24, almost 25 years ago, this township lawfully permitted to the Quaitches, and Mr. Quaitch is deceased, for them to renovate that building exactly the way it is today. It's been sold to somebody else, that property. In turn, they sold it to us. Now, that building was permitted under the 1976 ordinance and any amendments up to 1991. You need to show me in that ordinance where it says what that building is for. It is an extension of the main house. It's like having a finished basement.
Like I stated, that's the position of staff, and that's how we came about it.
Okay, let's just...
The only other thing I'll mention is, and remind you folks, is that her plan is being reviewed under the 2003 ordinance, not the 1976 ordinance.
Is it 2003 or 2008? Which one is it?
2003.
Because you said 2008. You've told me before 2008. And now you're, because the 2003 ordinance is different. You have said that. I have the 2003 ordinance. I didn't bring it tonight because I didn't think we were going to get into this discussion. The 2003 ordinance does not have a tenant dwelling at all, period. So you've told me 2008 because you say it's 2003 as amended as August 2007, and now you're telling me it's 2003. It really is 1976. Because it's a pre-existing, non-conforming building.
This would be nice to move on.
That's all I have to say on that.
I want to ask our attorney, you've heard the motion.
I have.
Do you feel it's legally sufficient to hold up in court or whatever else we have to lead through here? I mean,
Well, I'm not going to have this motion, this is not the approval I want, so do I have anything to say about that?
Mr. Chairman, you've asked me a question, which
Yes,
is
please.
whether the ordinance that is, the motion which has been presented and seconded is a legal motion,
Is it legal?
and it certainly is. Applicant has made a proposal for a plan. It is up to the staff to review and provide comment to this board. And it's up to this board to decide to their satisfaction that it meets the requirements of the ordinance, which I think is what's going on here. And I think Mr. Reynolds' motion is perfectly legal. Supervisor Fox, you certainly have certain leeway to comment, but I assume that you're going to recuse yourself from the vote. I believe that you submitted something formally last time to that effect.
Correct.
Understood.
I'm not going to submit it in writing, I'm just going to
Well, you
say,
don't have to, ma'am.
huh?
I'm sorry, go ahead, I didn't mean to.
I have to today?
No, you don't have to. You already.
Because I'm not, if they want to vote on this, I'm not going to accept this motion the way it stands. So how do I do that? Just-
Well, I don't know what to tell you, Ms. Fox.
Okay,
It's
that's
the fact
fine.
that you're not participating.
Okay,
in
go
it.
ahead.
No,
Pursuant to the Pennsylvania ethics law, I'm abstaining from voting due to a financial interest in this proceeding. Make a note, Wendy, please.
Attorney Buck, you said that the staff has given a report. You concur with their report?
Everything that I've seen, the documents which I've been asked to review, support the position that staff and your engineer and your planning commission attorney have presented to you.
All right, we have a motion and a second. I'm going to call for the vote. Bill?
Based on the discussion, I say no.
Roll call.
Are we finished with discussion?
Yes.
We are.
So there's a motion and a second to approve.
Roll call vote.
Mr. Chairman, if some of the members want further discussion, I think it's your responsibility to let them speak. If that's what you're
Yes,
asking.
We have a motion and a second, but I haven't stopped discussion yet. If you have any questions at all, you have the right to ask them before you
Bill has
vote.
something, I mean,
What?
Bill has something, start with Bill, whatever
I
one.
agree.
If this is unacceptable to Ms. Fox here, is there any sense in even following through with a vote on this? She wants a vote based on her plan as she presented it. Okay, should we just make a motion to take a vote on the plan as she presented it? I mean, for us to make a decision that's unacceptable to her, it's really not getting us anywhere.
Well, so you're making a point that the plan before us is not the plan that the staff and the planning commission approved? It's a different plan?
I'm not saying I condone it, I'm saying this is what Ms. Fox has asked to have presented for vote tonight.
Well, that's
And
a...
she's very specific about it, so.
I have to,
You make an interesting point. Go ahead.
I have to interject.
Attorney Buck.
Mr. Cox, but any member of the board that's qualified to vote tonight can make any kind of vote or any kind of motion that they want that addresses the plan. You can make that in a positive form. I move that we approve it if this is changed. Or you can say, I move that the plan be denied because this and this needs to be changed. That's up to whoever's making the motion. But I would caution that a vote against, to deny the plan, would put the applicant back to square one, and they have to start over with their application all over.
And under the 2010 ordinance, not the one that's currently under.
The question I think that Bill raises is Ms. Fox and Jeff Van Voorst submitted as part of our packet, a new plan or a plan that wasn't.
With some
Wasn't
changes.
exactly, yeah, with a plan with some changes. It wasn't, this is a question. It was not the plan that the staff and or the planning commission approved.
The difference is, in parentheses, it says number of development rights remaining. In parentheses, the plan that was presented to the planning commission says to remain with lot 1. Pursuant to the SALDO, the wording needs to say assign to lot 1, because you need to assign a remaining dwelling right to a particular parcel. The words to remain are different than the words to assign. And the SALDO requires us to assign the development right to lot 1. But it does not require me to have that dwelling right to remain with lot 1. That's the only change in parentheses.
Question
And then you wanted something, you want to name that building something. That's what
The
Jeff
question
Shue
is,
says.
the question is, are we approving a plan that was approved by the staff and then later the planning commission? Or are we approving a plan that's more recently submitted?
The only change, and this box just addressed it, is right here on this line. What the plan was that went before staff and planning commission stated here, where it says assigned to lot 1, that's the only change that's been submitted. Prior, it said to remain with lot 1.
Which plan,
That's the only
which
change.
plan are we voting on?
This one.
This one right here,
But he
assigned to
changed
lot 1.
His motion is different. It's different, his motion says that it is all contingent on all the items that Jeff Shue has addressed, which Jeff Shue wants to know how to name that accessory building. And I say, name it the summer kitchen or the accessory building. That's what it is.
Bill, you raised an issue or question. Has that been resolved in your own mind, or what's your thinking now?
I was just trying to keep this concise.
You were what?
I was just trying to keep it as simple as we can here.
Well,
I see no sense in following through with a vote if it's going to be unacceptable to the applicant here, okay? She specifically requested that we take action on it exactly as she presented it.
so your vote is no. Any further discussion from the staff?
I might just add, and then I'll try and keep quiet, Mr. Fox. The motion as it's framed right now would give the applicant the opportunity to continue to work with the township to be responsive to those conditions or not. But at the point that a motion is made to deny the plan, and that vote carries,
So,
then the deal is open, the plan has failed, the plan has failed, and the applicant is back to square one.
I understand that, but she's made it perfectly clear on how she wants us to react here,
All right?
okay? I'm not saying I'm in favor of what she wants to do. I'm just saying, it's plain and simple. That's what she's asked us to do.
Yes, but who's presenting the plan to the board? It's the planning commission really is forwarding this plan to this board. And it's the plan that they have approved. And they're after submitted to this board. So that's the plan that's before us.
Well, it's either we change the motion or we follow through with the motion as Jeff presented it.
And last month, the staff, before the last meeting, changed everything on that chart. Everything. Crossed out things, highlighted things, crossed out, put their own numbers in, and then presented our plan to the board that way. That's what you did last month.
Your plan was not presented marked up.
Okay.
It was not.
okay. So first of all, there's a motion in the first and the second, so we need a roll call, and then if Bill wants to make a motion
I'll say-
afterwards.
On the motion that we have, I've placed my vote.
Okay,
My
so
vote is
it's
no.
you. And we can move forward
I
here.
would have voted no.
Okay.
to entertain a second motion.
So the 2-2 vote, the motion is not carried.
Bill, you have any idea for a motion? You all can, either one of them. Any member of the board can, except for Sue, of course, can submit a new motion. A variation of the first or whatever you want to do, but we need to try to get this resolved as easy as we can.
I'd like to get this resolved tonight.
Yeah.
Move on.
Any thoughts, any ideas for a new motion?
Move on.
I'll make another motion if you choose.
Well,
I'll make a motion to deny the plan.
It's been long enough. Let's second that motion. This needs to move on. It's been
The
too long.
motion, I didn't hear it, Jeff.
To deny our plan.
I made a motion to deny the plan as presented.
To deny the plan as
It's
presented?
presented,
Yes.
yes, and I second it.
And that means we have to go back.
we have a motion, a second, any discussion? I'll call for the vote.
Discussion might be appropriate to indicate the reasons for denial.
Please.
Okay, my reasoning for denial is because, the reason I'm saying that is if, I'm not gonna approve this plan unless there's 2 dwelling rights attached to lot 1 to cover both dwellings. That's why I'm saying, that's why I made my first motion, is that if we're going to approve it, there's gonna be 2 dwelling rights assigned to lot 1. If that's not acceptable, then I will not approve this plan in any way, and that's why I am making a motion to deny it. Based on zoning and everything, and things that have been done in the past with other properties and property owners.
After we vote, I'd like to make a motion as well. Well, we're going to call for this vote first. Bill? I want to say,
First, going to call for the vote.
I did, but he's brain, but I mean, if,
So the motion, once again, is to what, to deny the plan
Deny
as
the plan.
presented?
Yes.
Which means that we will have to go back to square one and start with the 2.
I think we need more discussion on this. I don't think I'm in a position to take a position on that yet.
I'm going to, so your vote's no. My vote's no. Looks like it's Bill, your vote's no, or yes, or in between there. I'd like to make a motion if this motion fails.
Mr. Chairman, you need to continue your vote on that motion.
Well, we have 2 yeses to the motion, we have a no, and Bill has indicated he's leaning to voting no, but he hasn't said no, and so he says no.
I'm going to vote no.
I'd like to make a motion. And this motion was approved by our attorney, I believe, and also by our staff, or by our manager, at least by our attorney. I make a motion that we approve the plan subject to a note. And the note reads as follows in regard to the accessory building that's in question. Owners, this is a quote, this is what goes on the plan and it is recorded. Owners have agreed to discontinue tenant dwelling use, semicolon, may be used for personal use as an extension of the primary home.
Read that again?
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Discussion.
As long as there's a kitchen and so forth in there, I don't think it'll be handled as stated, so.
Well, okay, but let me give you my point of view on that, Jeff, with all due respect, both of you. And that is that she uses that building as a tenant building, or to lease or rent, and does not have a development right that she has now, she's in violation of the zoning ordinance and subject to all the penalties that are involved with that. So I think the township is protected from that building being used for use which is not permitted.
For discussion's sake, I mean, we have to keep in mind historically, the building was built as a kitchen. Okay, it was built in the 1700s as a kitchen. You have to respect that it has kitchen facilities. It was the original intent of the building.
What was their version of a kitchen?
All right,
in 1805.
Sue,
1805, excuse me.
1805.
Sue,
We can almost about a half hour now. I mean, one topic. Just call for the vote. I mean, it's going to be minutes now.
we have a motion and a second.
Aye?
Aye.
No?
No.
Okay, we'll move on, please.
Any other discussion, any other motions? We have a 2-2 vote, therefore the motion does not pass, and we'll move on.
Thank you.
You're welcome. On the report, first item is the manager's report.
The only thing I have to add, other than what's in the report, is to let you know that the new traffic signal at Mount Airy Road and Sophia Drive will be put on the flash mode on Thursday, November 13th at 1 o'clock. And if all goes well, it's going to go to the normal red, yellow, green cycle beginning on Tuesday, November 18th at 1 o'clock.
Thank you. That's the report.
Everybody know where that is at the new shopping center? Just,
And everything else is in your report, people can read it, so that's the extent of what you want to stress here this evening. All right. The next report will be the sanitary sewer reporting regarding
Yeah,
sewer.
there's not too much new, with the exception of phase 3 at Sitesland. The first item and the second item, if you want, you can vote on them together. If you want to separately, that's fine as well. But the first item is a mandatory contract to extend the community development block grant from 2013, which is the amount of $100,000 for sites on phase 3, and then the 2014 community development block grant mandatory contract number 1, which is an additional $100,000. And that's just both of those is to extend the contract time frame.
Thank you. Could you give a quick overview as to the evolution of the present status of this project, what's all about?
Yeah, Sitesland, which is a small community, most of you are probably aware of it outside of Glen Rock. I believe it was in 2011 is when phase 1 and 2 took place, which is right there at the rail trail crossing with Baltimore Street and Lincoln Street, escape on my Clearview Drive. Their phase 1 and 2, it's 25 connections, and then phase 3, which is Railview, short section of Pleasant Valley, an additional portion of Baltimore Street going into Glen Rock Borough, is an additional 15 customers. So that'll be phase 3. They received $200,000 in community development block grant funding toward that project. And then that'll complete the Sitesland sanitary sewer project when this is completed.
Thank you, Todd. The next report,
I make a motion that we accept the 2 amended contracts, 3 and 1.
is that down below?
Yeah, that's right underneath the sanitary sewer, 1 and 2, 2013, 2014.
Yeah, I make a motion.
All right, I got you. Okay, well, is there a second to,
I'll second.
okay, any discussion? I'll call for the vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Moving on.
The only thing, if I can just add, I did get word today that they're planning to move in and start the week of Thanksgiving. Because that's only a 3-day week, I assume they'll probably just mobilize and then start actual construction that following Monday.
Thank you. Attorney Bob, your report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If I may, I'd like to go over my report very briefly.
Sure.
I'd like to go over the first item because I made an error there. In my report, I indicated that Mr. Shuckman's right to know request had been appealed to the Commonwealth Court, but I was wrong about that. This is actually what he has filed has been an appeal of a second decision that she received, and that appeal was to the Office of Open Records. Attorney Nika Driscoll of our office is an expert on right to know act provisions, so she's going to be handling this and filing the documents that are necessary for OOR appeal for this. If you have any questions, you can let me know. The second item on my report relates to something that's going to come up later in your agenda. That's a request from the Solid Waste Management Authority to have an addendum made to their agreement with most of the municipalities in York County. In 2007, all of those municipalities went together and signed an agreement that they would send their solid waste to the authority, and they would also guarantee the public debt that the Solid Waste Management Authority was taking under to create an incinerator and do various improvements to the landfill. And the agreement said that all the municipalities would guarantee their public debt, and that this agreement would last as long as that debt existed, or 25 years, whichever ended first. Well, since that time, the cost of private lending has decreased while the cost of public lending has increased. So the authority wants to replace their public debt with private debt. But they don't want the agreement for the municipalities to end. So they want to revise the language in their agreement so that it won't say that the agreement's going to last as long as their public debt does. It's going to last as long as all of their debt does, or 25 years, whichever one comes first. Most of the other municipalities in York County have already adopted this amendment. It's been coming to everybody in turn. I think there are 5 or 6 that are remaining, and Shrewsbury Township is one that hasn't addressed it yet.
Thank you. With that overview, I'd like to pull up that item which is under new business and call for a vote on it now. It's amendment number 1 to extension of agreement regarding waste management services with the York County Solid Waste Authority. I'll entertain a motion to approve that.
I'll make a motion to approve that.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Call for the vote.
Aye.
Jeff, you voted aye.
Yeah.
Thank you.
One
I
second,
want
Paul.
to
Sure.
Todd, when you get a chance, I'd like a final bill from Attorney Buck and all the office hours that have been put into these appeals, Township versus Shuckman. And you get all the numbers from beginning to end, from the office staff and Attorney Buck. Could you please put that together and send it to the board?
Okay.
Thank you.
Next item under reports is the zoning officer / code enforcement, sewage enforcement. All one person. He's given us a very detailed report. You have it in your packet. Any questions? Is that something that's on the website, our website, Todd? The zoning officer's report?
it's not.
The next report is maintenance. We have a one-page summary of the maintenance. That includes our highway people, our park people. Their report is in your packet. Questions, comments? Next item is the engineer's report from C.S. Davidson. One-page report. Any comments on that? Moving on to the planning commission, we have a copy of their minutes. And what we normally do, I guess.
We do?
We
I don't see any
hang on, all
minutes.
right.
All I see is the
No, it's
parish
only the
report.
status report.
I don't have a copy of their minutes.
It's not in the packet.
Should it be?
Normally,
They didn't have a meeting last month.
that's right.
That's right, they
why.
didn't. It's
Okay,
from the
okay,
month
so-
before, that's why.
So we're all right.
That's it.
I was right in assuming that whether they didn't have a meeting, so that we don't have one. All right. That makes it easy. Resolve that matter. All right. Moving on, that completes all the reports. Now we're at a point where item number 9, supervisor comments. Any member of the board want to address the board? Any member on the board or anybody out there or everybody out there? Yeah. Anything to say, anybody? All right. Moving on, old business. Traffic study request from PennDOT regarding Fiscal Church Road. They denied the request. Todd, you want to give us a little more information?
Yeah, this is just a follow-up. If you recall, back in September, we had a request from Southern School District requesting that we contact PennDOT and ask that they do a traffic study in hopes of reducing the speed limit from Pleasant Valley Road up to Country Club Road. Reduce it from 40 miles per hour to 35. The Township Board, as you know, you agreed to do that. We submitted that request on their behalf. They came out, they conducted their study, and this is a letter indicating that they denied that request because it doesn't meet their criteria for a reduction.
And you have a copy, as you all know, in the packet.
Crazy.
Next item, under new business, no, excuse me, under old business, transfer development rights agreement, sales grader. I want to move along faster than we should. Todd, do you want to give us the background information on the sales grader?
Yeah, this is a grader that we haven't used in 4 years. I believe they used it one time in that time period. It's a good piece of equipment, but it's sitting there. It costs money to maintain it, so it does keep running. At the request of our maintenance foreman, who suggested that we sell it. We had discussed this probably 4 or 5 months ago. At that time, North Hopewell Township may have been interested. The board authorized Mike to talk to North Hopewell, give them the opportunity to try it out. For whatever reason, they decided that they're not interested in it. So what I'm proposing to the board and asking that you authorize is that we actually authorize it to be sold by bid on a website called Melissa Bid. And it will be advertised that it's available for bidding on that website. So I'm just asking that you authorize this different form of advertisement to sale.
Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
I'll second it.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Item number C under old business, transferable development rights agreement and deed of transferable development rights. You want to introduce that topic for anybody that doesn't know what this is, what this is all about?
Yeah, transferable development rights, we often refer to them as TDRs. What they are is, in the agricultural zone, there's a table, depending on your acreage, you have a certain number of development rights that are assigned to that property. It goes back to actually November of 1976 in determining that number. And I'm just going to make up an arbitrary number, but let's say you have a farm parcel and you're entitled to 5 development rights. 1 development right must remain with the property at all times. Then you also have the option of either or. You could subdivide up to 50,000 square foot building lots off of that, and each one of those would require a development right. Or you could choose to sell those development rights to another party outside of the ag zone into a residential receiving area. And again, that sale would be private between the TDR owner and whoever they're selling them to. But they must be approved by the Board of Supervisors in order for those transfers to take place. And once those TDRs are gone, if you're assigned 5, whether you do a combination of developing and selling some, if you sell all of them or you develop all those lots, once those development rights are gone, then you're done. You can't do any additional developing on that farm parcel.
Thanks, sir. Now we move on to new business. Oh, well, we can. I mean, okay, that we have to.
You may want to vote to table
Yeah, we should do that. I'll make a motion to table the request for transfer of development rights agreement and deed of transfer.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Call for the vote.
Aye.
Aye.
No.
Aye.
Pursuant to the Pennsylvania ethics law, abstain from voting due to a financial interest in this proceeding. Again.
Now we'll move on to new business. First item on the new business, 2014 community contributions. Todd, would you enlighten us on that?
Yeah, we have, in our annual budget, we give community contributions to several organizations. Glenrock Ambulance, Rose Ambulance, Southern York County Library, Huffnagle Public Library, York County Rail Trail Authority, South Central York County Senior Center, and Southern Community Services. And what the board has before them is a list of those organizations, the amounts that were budgeted for 2014, and just asking authorization to release those funds.
Would you read those also? Everybody?
Sure. Glenrock Ambulance, $20,000. Rose Ambulance, which is New Freedom, $35,000. Southern York County Library, $10,000. Huffnagle Public Library, $1,200. York County Rail Trail Authority, $500. South Central York County Senior Center, $2,500. And Southern Community Services, $700. And if I can just note, we do give a contribution through the fire tax to the 3 fire departments, which we'll be talking about later.
Well, let me call for a motion.
I'll make a motion for the 2014 community contributions.
I'll second it. This discussion. Southern York County Library, in our proposed budget for 2015, are we giving them the same amount? I'm sure. We should. All right, I'll call for the vote. Any further discussion first? Call for the vote.
Aye.
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 Next item on the new business is the 2015 budget. We were ready to, well, we need to discuss whether we're going to advertise it for public inspection prior to having it enacted. Todd, do you want to kind of start the ball rolling here?
Yeah. The board met at a public advertised meeting on, I believe it was October 29th, to review the proposed budget. We came out of that meeting, most everything intact, and agreed to everything. The only issue that's outstanding, and we'll discuss a little bit this evening, about a month before budget meeting, we were approached by Shrewsbury Borough and Shrewsbury Fire Company requesting that we increase our fire tax, which is now at $0.25 mil, generates approximately a distribution of around $46,000 to each of the 3 fire companies, which is Shrewsbury, Glenrock, and New Freedom. And it was requested that we consider increasing the tax, and at that particular meeting, they were looking that the tax generates $113,000 versus $46,000 for each of the fire departments. And what that means, and I'll pull up here, if you'll bear with me a second.
$48,775 for a fire department.
Yeah, just so that you can see this screen a little better. Currently, we're at the $0.25 mil, and like I said, now if everyone pays like they're supposed to, they'd be looking at close to $49,000, but that doesn't always happen every year. Some gets turned into tax claim. But this is currently where we're at, right here. In order to get where the request is, we have to generate, after we pay the tax collector, we have to generate about $357,000 is what the total would be. And then you break it out to the 3 fire departments, each one would net about $113,000. And that would increase it from 0.25 mils to 0.61 mils. And then this other table just showed you if the board, I don't know where you want to go with this, if you want to hold off and do a little more research, a little more discussion. Or if you want to do something more incremental, I put these other tables here just to give you an idea of what it would generate at 0.36 mils, 0.41, 0.47, and then there's the 6.1, so.
I think we need to table this until we get the information from Glenrock Fire Department. And we have the, I guess it's not in this thing here that you gave us, but we had the expenses for New Freedom Rose Fire Department. And it seems like their operating budget was what, about 140, 150,000 a year?
I may have it up here.
And it appears that the Shrewsbury Fire Department's operating expenses are 280,000, 278,000, is that correct?
Before, can I interject this for a minute, please? Before we get into the details, we just got, Todd, you did a wonderful job in getting the data to us, so we know how much the boroughs are contributing to their own volunteer fire departments and so forth. But just having gotten this afternoon, I'd like to do some homework and reflect on it, and not just make a quick decision.
Because we don't have Glenrock's information at all.
I can't force that out of them.
Right, so I don't think we have enough information to make any.
And the other thing is, I just caution you, I'm not sure if you normally mentioned what New Freedom's expenses were versus Shrewsbury. Having been a volunteer in EMS, it's the same municipalities. Every municipality, every fire department, every ambulance club has different equipment, you know, some have loans, some not. So
Right.
I just caution, don't anyone, I hope, compare expenses from one fire department to another.
Yeah, because I don't know who has what, why, or what.
Anyway,
What's that supposed to be?
just don't be shy. Anyway, I think if you did some analysis and took all these raw numbers and raw data and put it together in some form that would flow better, I think we'd be able to make a decision in a better sense. And also you can give us your own particular recommendation. And then we could, we're here tonight on our agenda is to approve the proposed 2015 budget for advertising. And we can have a meeting around the middle of the month and still meet the advertising deadline so we can adopt the budget by the end of the year, which we are proud to do. What's the sense of the board?
Well, don't we have a regular advertised meeting for later on this month that we can do? Okay, why don't we just try and do it then, because it's a...
You've taught us.
Well, you're talking about next Wednesday.
Yeah, I mean, that gives time to get things together, but what I'm saying is because it is already an advertised.
Right. We would not need to do a special advertising.
That's what I was
That's a
getting at.
good point, Jeff. Thank you. Oh,
Think we have the information by then?
I will make phone calls and, you know, I know we have some representation here from Shrewsbury, and they may be able to make some contacts and hopefully get them to get some information to us. And in all fairness to Glenrock, I do know there was a recent change in fire chiefs, so I believe there's some transitioning happening there.
Who's the chief there now, you know?
Ron Hall.
Yes.
Right, and you're obviously, if you had to talk to any of the gentlemen that are here tonight.
But that's fine, I can get the information pulled together before next Wednesday if you want to reconvene next week.
Any comments from our guests from Shrewsbury Borough?
Yeah, I'd like to hear what you have to say.
You want to come here?
Yeah, come up here.
Correct. My name is Tony Myers, Fire Chief of the Shrewsbury Fire Company. First of all, on behalf of the Shrewsbury Fire Company, we appreciate you looking at a proposal for possibly increase in fire tax. I've asked the other departments to try and attend and try and give the information that's needed, and don't know what else to do. I know they did go through a transition. They were supposed to send some documents, so I'll call around tomorrow, I'm sure you will too. Just real quick, I'll do my 5 minutes for public comment here. The biggest part of our predicament is volunteer numbers are dropping dramatically. Our call volume is increasing, our volunteer numbers are dropping. Anyone that works or lives in today's society is either working 1, 2, or maybe 3 jobs. For a volunteer to now volunteer in fire department, that's a shrink. Most of our time, and I provide activity hours to you each month in our call volume. You can see that a lot of time is spent manning the station. Training hours and fundraising are where we spend most of our time on top of running calls. To get people to come out to do pit-beats, the other fundraising events is becoming almost impossible. It's just they don't have time to come out and do that along with doing the job of volunteer firefighting, and then their personal life. And that's for all 3 fire companies. I don't want to speak for Rose and for Glenrock, but I know that it's the same for them. And they would have to officially say that it is. It's across the board. It's harder for us to do fundraising. The biggest part that brought this to light was the fund drive that we do between Shrewsbury Borough and Shrewsbury Township. I'm speaking strictly for our company. I can't speak for the other 2 companies in the numbers. We're getting less than the borough, and I'm trying to remember my numbers right. I think the borough was a 19% return. Or the township was a 19% return, and the borough is a 17% return. So our issue is everyone wasn't supporting the company equally. Everyone's getting service, but only a couple people were contributing. That's what brought out the whole discussion years ago. I believe Earl was chairman at the time, started the fire tax here in the township, which was greatly appreciated.
What year was that?
Oh,
2007, I think.
I was going to say 7,
It's
6,
been going on for quite a while.
somewhere there, which, and you correct me if I'm wrong, it pretty much didn't change anything. It just changed from contribution to fire tax. The money was pretty close to the same.
No, the money more than doubled.
Okay. With tax, thanks for clarification. The issue for us, and I'm speaking strictly for us, but I speak across the whole bunch of fire service that's protecting the township, is obviously costs are increasing with everything. You see it with your budget, with the township and everything. We see it also. We're looking 2010, I think, instead of replacing a fire engine that was out of date, we refurbed it to bring it up to standards to make it acceptable. So instead of spending $500,000, we spent just around $200 because it's just not feasible to spend that much money for a fire truck with the way the finances are. And we have a functional fire engine, the second one, and it does the job. But the fire departments, I just want you to understand, they're not just throwing money out there, looking to tighten their budgets. They're doing what they can to keep operating. But it is getting difficult for us to do with the amount and the support we get from our residents plus the township. We asked the township if they would consider increasing the fire tax. Again, we appreciate the existing tax to try and come up close to what Shrewsbury Borough is doing. They are coming to a final vote, and so far things are looking promising for the tax. I can't speak for a vote, but with our call volumes, and you have copies of them, you see it's almost a 50-50 split of what we protect in the township to the borough. And just looking at, can we come to close to what the borough is supporting us for to help support us, so it's an even split, basically, looking at it for the service.
With their
Yes, ma'am.
42 cents millage, they're gonna have $114,650 contributed to you, correct?
If you say so. I haven't seen the number, the official number.
Yeah, and our annual.
Because I think they were supposed to supply with the information to get, right?
Yeah,
Okay,
and right now we collect 146,300, we split it 3 ways.
correct.
48,776, each one gets the same exact.
Right, that's
amount.
what the citizens need to remember. I might be leading the charge, but it's not just for the Shrewsbury Fire Company.
It's just-
It's for Glenrock, Shrewsbury, and New Freedom.
Because we support all 3.
Correct.
For almost 100,000
Right, and it needs to
right
be
now.
clear that, the increase isn't just going to our fire company, it's going to all 3 to help support. And all 3 companies desperately need an increase. So that's why we approached that. I've kind of taken the lead on it, bringing it to the township, just because I'm available to do it. But for specific numbers for roads or or Glen Rock, you have to ask them, I can give you our numbers for one of the busier companies. Glen Rock would probably be the second business in the township. What we're looking for is trying to get a little equality into the monetary donation to the fire companies. I know New Freedom, I believe, up their mill this year for their budget. And that's, they're doing what they can do with their fund, obviously. But my request for the free fire departments is to consider an increase to assist the fire companies in performing their jobs. I sent an email, I want to say a month ago, using the Volunteer Association formula of what a paid department is. And did y'all see that? And I understand that's not a scare tactic, that's just a baseline of what a paid department would cost. And that's actually taken off of numbers from companies in York County that have paid departments. Penn Township was one of the leading numbers, because they would be close to the same number we have to have here. If we don't do something soon, we're heading for a paid department, because volunteer numbers are dropping. So we've got to take the load off the volunteers for fundraising, which would be a good request for, that they need to not have to spend over half the time in their departments just on fundraising. And that's what the load is on the departments. I hope I didn't understand much.
No, you're fine. Be assured that with the help of our manager, we're going to look at the numbers real hard.
I'm sure you will.
We wouldn't be having an extra meeting if we weren't acting in good faith as far as what you want. So we will look at the proposal and we'll meet.
Just need more information.
Absolutely. And
more time.
And if there's anything else I can provide, please let me know.
You and the manager will be in discussion, but we'll meet next Wednesday and we'll plug in the number for the fire.
You have to be fiscally responsible for the township too.
Absolutely.
So
And
appreciate
also,
whatever you can do to support the free.
we'll be approving our budget for advertising at our next meeting, as well as plugging in a few more numbers. Yes, sir.
Tony, do you still have,
your name?
Earl Shookman, this is Church Road. Do you still have, I think they were called call boxes, where it breaks down the number of homes that each of the fire departments cover?
The fire response areas are separated into fire boxes.
Okay, fire boxes.
Fire boxes. It's just a geographical area. The township split into little boxes, and just for mapping procedures, so you can find an area. They still have them. What's the question about?
Well, the question is, can't you get the number of structures out of that so that the board can look at each of the three companies and see what's being served?
Okay, currently, the township gets a call volume for our responses into the township. I don't know what Rose and Glenrock provide. I can only speak for us. Right now, they get the number of responses into the township, and I think it shows all the municipalities we respond to.
It does, but what he's asking for is how many structures in our township do you service, and how many structures does New Freedom and Glenrock service? That would give us a percentage.
I think the fire boxes kind of break it down for you. I think they're broken down by roads.
I mean, I have to physically do it manually. I don't have anything on the computer to, I
Does
have to do it
911
manually.
have it?
I made that request to York County EMS, and they told me that is not available,
No.
that level of detail.
They can tell you how many houses are in the township, but I don't think they can knock it down to particular box areas, because.
So if I call, 911 calls.
They can tell you who's first due to
Who's
that
first
area.
responder.
But they can't tell you how many houses are in Station 61's district, 59's district, 58's district. They don't have a report that will show that. Just in fairness, it's always been for the free companies, some of us run more than others in the township. But it's been an agreement between the three companies. We never wanted to get into a shooting match, who runs more and gets a higher percentage. The third split seemed fair to everyone.
Yeah, that's kind of low.
And we're still in that belief, even though one company may benefit a little more than one runs more. the fire companies themselves are happy with the third splits, if that helps you with that decision.
Yeah, that's,
But, as to getting specific numbers, each company can tell you their percentage of calls into the township, but as to specific houses, like, we can't answer that. Without any-
that's good.
So thank you for coming out and helping us with some information. And our manager syndicated will take all these numbers and take some sense out of them and give us a bottom line and so on and so on. And we'll meet next Wednesday at 7 o'clock here. It's a public meeting. Next item, we've already voted on the extension of the waste management service agreement. Item number D on the Roman numeral 11 is regional Chesapeake Bay program committee. We need to pick a primary and alternate voting member for that group. Would you introduce that to us, what the present status is, for example?
Yeah, this is a project that began, probably a year ago, and really got underway earlier this year. But it has to do with the Chesapeake Bay Pollution Reduction Plan. And there's a consortium of York County municipalities, and it's actually being spearheaded and led by York County Planning Commission, because the county needs to meet these requirements as well. Most of the municipalities that are participating are what they call MS4 municipalities, and they're the municipalities that need to meet federal guidelines to meet the Chesapeake Bay Pollution Reduction Plan. And that group met together. Paul was our representative for quite a few months. They worked out the details of the plan. Everyone came to the table, and I don't recall the number off the top of my head. It was certainly overwhelming majority of the York County municipalities that are participating in it. And again, there's now a regional committee that they're going to form to get into the details of this, specifically what projects they're going to do to make improvements within those municipalities. I believe it's 30-some municipalities. But that committee is going to make recommendations as to what those projects should be. And those projects are geared to meeting EPA requirements, to give you credit points, to meeting that reduction plan set by EPA. So, and what they're looking for now is a primary voting member to serve on that committee as well as an alternate.
I think,
We'll open the floor up for any nominations.
I think we should nominate Paul, and if nobody else wants to do it, I can be the alternate. But I think Paul should be our primary voting. He's been involved in this.
Can I make a suggestion? I'll be happy to continue to serve. It's a non-paying position, by the way. But at any rate, but Todd has been involved as the alternate for the past year. And I'm saying this because you would serve well too, but he's the one that has to put everything together to serve this board. So if
So it
he,
doesn't have to be a supervisor?
no,
Okay,
but
it doesn't have to be a supervisor?
he'll be more directly involved. So when he reports back to us, if he's one that attends, he can do so firsthand.
Were you gonna make him primary and you secondary? Is that what you're saying?
No, I say make Paul primary and Tom secondary. Well,
That's the
I'm just saying, I'm asking Paul which way he.
Well,
yeah, what do you want to do?
Because it sounds to me like Paul center seat,
Yeah.
Todd be primary.
Whatever you want to do, but I know Paul's been
Well,
involved.
let's hear from Todd too. I mean, maybe Todd doesn't want to be primary.
I'm
Yeah,
here to
enough.
work for the board of the township. Tell me what you want me to do.
well, I'll tell you what, I would suggest that, you nominate Todd as the primary. I could attend with him, but he's the one who's got to come back and inform us, so I'd rather have him get there.
Okay.
Actually, Paul, I think it's a good idea to do it that way.
I think so too. All right, fine, I'll make the
Is there a
motion.
motion?
Yes, to make Todd our manager, the primary, for the regional CBPRB committee, and Paul as the secondary.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, we have two seconds, right? That's impressive. I'll call for the vote.
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
All right. We're coming down to the end here. correspondence, any correspondence is usually in our package, is there anything that's come in since our package?
Yeah, there is no position.
Now, the next item is closing public comment. We prefer to speak up here and state your name. Okay, going to come up. So, next item is adjournment to an executive session.
For personnel.
Personnel.
I'll make the motion that we adjourn and go into executive session for personnel matters.
Yes, second.
We adjourned the meeting, correct?
We're adjourning this meeting. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.